Hey everybody, it's Jarvis. Welcome back to my channel, Universe Jarvis. It's been a minute since I've actually uploaded a video, so still trying to work through some things, but I've been back in the mood to do some baking and stuff since the holiday season. It's November, and I've actually seen a lot of stores are already putting up Christmas decorations and stuff like that. The TV's actually been glued on Food Network for me. So I am going to do a variation of something that I make every year around this time. It's a pound cake, and it's kind of country style, so the process is a little bit tedious, but it's definitely worth the time that you have to put into making it. And I do a few things ahead of time. I like to go ahead and mix up a couple things. So we're gonna go ahead and jump right into it. But instead of just a normal pound cake, it's actually going to be chocolate. And then we're gonna get that in the oven, and after that happens, I'm gonna actually make a vanilla buttercream frosting to put on it. And so we'll go through that whole process. So let's go ahead and jump straight in. Now I've actually pre-mixed a few of the items. You take 3 cups of flour, you take 3/4 teaspoon of baking powder, and then you do a quarter teaspoon of salt. So that's already been put together. I've sifted together in this mixing bowl right here. And I like to sift with this wire or mesh little colander thing. I mostly use this to sift because it actually gets all your stuff really nice and fine. You don't have to worry about any clumps or anything like that. And if there are stuff that sticks together, you can just simply dump it out. So that's already been mixed. Now, part of what takes so long with this is you have to cream together some shortening as well as some butter. So I like to usually go ahead and get that done. Once we get that going, then we'll go ahead and get our pan greased and floured so that everything will be ready once everything's mixed. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this guy up here. You can buy name brand shortening. I just, was being cost effective. I just got the kind of store brand shortening. You're only gonna need a 1/2 cup of this. And I'll take that, and usually I kind of eyeball this. Doesn't have to be exact. Now this is some old school stuff. I remember growing up, my mom actually used to use this to fry. But that was before the time of all these saturated fats and all that kind of stuff. So you don't see people use lard or vegetable shortening as much, especially not the solid kind. Usually the rule of thumb is if it's solid at room temperature, it's usually bad. It's bad, but it's also good because it tastes really good when you're cooking stuff. So we've got that. We'll just sit this back over here. And I'm going to go ahead and get this down in the mixer. I'm actually going to move my paddle off of it so that it's a little bit easier to get stuff into the bowl. And we'll reattach it. Have to soak this because that is going to, I actually probably didn't have to measure this out. Usually I can eyeball it, but for instructive purposes. And then this butter, I like the Challenge butter. Actually, my favorite butter is the Kerrygold, but Challenge is right behind it. It's free of the growth hormone RBST, so it's actually a really nice butter. You get a lot of flavor. It's not quite as rich as Kerrygold. Kerrygold is an Irish butter, so it's got a lot more flavor, but this one isn't bad either, and I like that the cows aren't given hormones, and it's nice and soft. Now you need a 1/2 cup of this as well. So 1/2 cup of the shortening, 1/2 cup of butter, and that's gonna actually be 2 sticks. Actually, I think it's a cup, so we're gonna need 2 of those. Just a second here. Yep. So it is 1 cup of butter, so 2 sticks, and then a 1/2 cup of the vegetable shortening. Let's go ahead and plop that in there. And this will take about 10 minutes to actually cream together. So the mixer is going to be going for a little while. And like I said, we'll use that time to focus on some other things. All right. The paddle back on there. Lock it down. And then I usually just put it on like the low stir speed. Once it blends a little bit, then I can turn up the speed. I just kind of want to go slow. It's not about cooking really fast. It's just making sure you take time and let it do what it needs to do. And actually, I think this is probably going to blend together cream really quickly because the butter was already soft. It's a little warm in here, and the vegetable shortening is also kind of soft. So it's not going to take it long at all. So the next thing that we want to go ahead and do is I'm going to get my pan here. I'm a big fan of using a bundt pan when making a cake. It's probably also partially because I'm lazy and I don't like to do layers because most likely because I'm a perfectionist. So a bundt is nice and clean. You pour everything in there, it cooks. And usually a pound cake is going to be in a bundt. Now this one is fluted. There's all sorts of bundt pans. I actually think I got this one from TJ Maxx. You can also find the kind that are more square, but I like a fluted because it gives a really nice presentation when you turn it over with all the ridges and stuff in it. So we're going to use this. Now what I'm actually going to do, I like butter and then also use a cooking spray or baking spray that has flour in it. So we're going to go ahead and do that first. And all I usually do for that is I'll take something like Country Crock, a butter-like spread. Let's see. A little bit of a neat brick, so I usually keep gloves around to be clean as well as not get all this greasiness on my hand. I usually just take some paper towel for this. And I go on ahead and I butter that up really, really nicely. Get it as good as you possibly can. Stick it in there really, really good. All those edges. And this is actually really nice bundt pan. It's commercial quality, grade quality. I got it for a really good price. I really like going to TJ Maxx to find stuff like this. You can get some really good stuff and it's not super expensive. So we're done with this. We'll move it out of the way. And like I said, I'm going to follow. I use Pam, their store brand as well. And I usually like to just kind of still coat it. That way we make sure nothing sticks in here. It'll come right out once it cools. So for now, we'll go ahead and set this off to the side. And this actually looks really, really nice. What I am going to do is I want to get some of it off the paddle. So you see how it's nice and creamy? I'm just going to take a little bit of this off so that it can just blend that a little bit more. We'll give it another few seconds. Let that go. Alright, so that's had a couple more seconds. We're actually going to need the guard for this. If you have a stand mixer and there's an attachment, I guess you would call this an attachment. Mine is a KitchenAid, it's just the classic, it's the basic one. But I bought this little shield because it's really nice. It also lets you add ingredients. Instead of you trying to add them and them going down the side, it's got this nice little lip right here so things can kind of just slide down because we're going to add one egg at a time. So I'll make sure that that's on there. These eggs for this, leave out. I probably should have said that in the beginning of the video, but they need to be at room temperature. So even if you started this and the eggs are super cold, maybe leave them out for a little while. This isn't going to go anywhere so it can sit. And you're doing one at a time. You're going to make sure that they're blended. So this actually is why this process takes so long. It's going to take about 10 minutes to make sure the eggs are fully incorporated. So we'll get that back on stir. Go ahead and start cracking these eggs and adding them. Just kind of let it go slow. You can speed the mixer up just a little bit more, so I'm going to go up to about a 2. Just kind of let it incorporate it. Once you don't see the yolk and stuff sitting on top, then you can move on to the next egg. So just kind of keep an eye on it, and it takes a little while. And one thing you can do if you're anything like me, I'm a bit of a neat freak, so I'll actually start washing some things because once I finish mixing and get everything in the oven, I don't want to have a bunch of stuff to clean. So I'll go ahead and clean this. Actually, just wipe some of this off because it's grease. Alright. And it actually looks pretty good, so I should be able to go ahead and add the next egg here. I get some water in this, let it soak for a few seconds. Alright, set it up there. We'll go ahead and do our second egg. That's number 2. And it's gotten to the point with this, I made one and took it to my mom. I end up having to make one every year. I was just kind of, I've always really liked pound cake. And usually what I'll do with this is I will actually do like a strawberry shortcake kind of thing. I'll make a strawberry compote for it and just get some whipped cream out the can. You can make it yourself, but it's just as easy to get it out of the can and go to town. It's not that hard to make it from scratch though with heavy cream. Whip it up really good. But regular whip also serves the same purpose. No, it's not all the way clean. Alright, that's looking good. We're going to get our 3rd egg in here in a second. Number 3. And once we get all these eggs in, as you probably already figured out, we're going to incorporate the dry ingredients, which is the stuff that I pre-sifted beforehand. We'll get that in there. So let that go. Looks good. I'm going to turn it up for just a second. Alright. Do our next egg. We're almost done with this. Looks real good. Speed it up just a hair. And the last one. Good. And I'm going to do what I usually like to do with this, because in these mixers, some of it adheres to the edge of the bowl. I have a stainless steel bowl. I don't have a glass one. So I'm just going to take some of this that kind of gets stuck on the sides, and I'm going to just scrape it off. Blend it again on stir and let it incorporate. I'm going to also wipe off this because we've got some egg gunk. We're going to be adding dry ingredients. I'm going to start to adhere to it. Just my OCD. That looks really good. So now we're going to get started with our dry ingredients. I'm gonna grab a spoon. Measuring cup, let's see. So now you're going to do the dry ingredients, and you're also going to need some milk. I already gave you the measurements for all the dry stuff, and I'll also make sure I include the recipe below. And you need some milk. I've got whole milk. You can actually also do this with almond milk, and I normally will do it with almond milk because I have an issue with dairy, but for this one we'll just do some whole milk. So feel free to substitute out the milk. Almond milk actually works really well. If you do decide to do almond milk, I would do vanilla versus just the regular. That sweetness actually will give it some flavor. So do a vanilla soy milk if you can't do almond or have a nut allergy. So we're going to get these guys. And then you need a cup. So when you add this, you're going to actually alternate it. You can do a little bit of the dry mix and then some of the wet. A cup of this here. It's nice and cold. So be careful, sit that down there. And then I'll go down to stir. And this is a serving spoon. It works just fine. And I'm just gonna go ahead and put some of that in there. And I'll do one more little helping of it before I actually add some milk. Alright, good. And just a little bit of the milk. Crank it up a little bit. Just kind of let it mix together. Take your time doing it. Alright, we'll go down some more. We'll add some more of the flour mixture. There. A little bit more. There. Usually knock off any extra. Go ahead and add a little bit more milk. Crank it up just a little bit. Go down again, and we're just going to keep repeating this process until we're done with all of the rest of these ingredients. And the more you do this, you'll kind of get your own rhythm, just like cooking anything. And I've probably slowed the process down a little bit since I'm showing it to everyone. Let's see, I'm going to grab mine from vanilla. It's actually already out. Okay. So we're almost done with this step. Turn it down. I'm actually going to go, there's not enough of this left for me to keep doing this slowly, so I'm just going to try to get the rest of that out of there. As much of it as I can. Way we're gonna have to wash that, and we'll do the rest of the milk. Booyah! I'll slow that down just a little bit. And the reason that you alternate this is if you put too much flour and you don't keep doing it, it kind of starts to turn into a dough rather than a batter. I'm also going to go ahead and do what I've been doing this whole time. I'm going to take this out, and I want to remove some of this, and I want it to blend. Now, those of you that know how to bake, everybody has their own way of doing things, but when I make batter for cake, it should kind of have a creamy consistency to it. If it looks kind of coarse or anything like that, that means it hasn't beat enough and you've not incorporated enough air into it. I'm actually going to crank this up just a smidge. And let it kind of whip it around here. That's perfect. Now this is where I change this up. If you were going to continue to make this into a pound cake, you would do 1 teaspoon of vanilla and 1 teaspoon of lemon extract in this. We are going to use the vanilla, but I'm actually, since I want it to be chocolate, I'm going to be using some cocoa powder. And I've got 2 different vanillas. I've been kind of saving this one. And this is a Madagascar and Bourbon True Vanilla Extract, and this is just regular vanilla extract. You know what, let's go ahead and actually use a little bit of this Madagascar and Bourbon one. That'll give it some nice depth, and I think that'll go along really nice with that cocoa. Get in it safely. I also think this is a really cool bottle. This is something else that I found in TJ Maxx. This bottle was about $10, but I thought it was a really cool bottle. Which once this is gone, I'll probably actually want to reuse this bottle. But sometimes stuff with them is so seasonal. I actually think I got this around the holidays. It might have actually been last year. smells amazing. You can actually smell the bourbon and the vanilla. They go so well together. All right, so we need a teaspoon of that. Oh, and show you guys these. These are actually some little measuring beakers, and I'm a nerd. I was a science major undergrad, so I thought these were really cute. They're little beakers to measure everything out. But they're OXO, and I actually got these out of Kohl's. So I'm gonna do a teaspoon of this. Oh, it's perfect. And pour it in there. Beautiful. You can actually do one of two things with this. If you want this to be all chocolate, you can do it that way. Or you can put part of the batter down in and then put cocoa to the rest. Let's actually do it like that, so it's kind of going to be a two-layer deal. So we got the vanilla added. Everything actually looks really good. Looks great. I don't think we need our guard anymore. Alright, perfect. Let's go ahead and take this and get as much of this off as we can. Now, as a kid, probably licking this was one of my favorite things, and sometimes I actually still do it as an adult. Well, you're not supposed to because it's raw egg, blah, 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 blah. It can be a health risk, I suppose, but I have not had any issues. So you can see it. So look at that. Nice and creamy. Got a really good consistency to it. Oh, actually, we're forgetting something very important, which would mean this would taste disgusting. We actually have to add the sugar to it. Hang on just a second, we get some sugar. Here now. So the sugar actually goes into the step when you're creaming it. And as I was looking at it, I was wondering why it didn't look right. That is why, but it's not too late to add it. And this is going to be 2 2/3. I'll break that down a little bit. It's going to be 2 2/3 cups of the sugar here. So since I didn't add it at the step before, do it now. I'm going to blend it really, really well. We're going to fix it real quick. Cup. I'm gonna put the sugar out. My face. So that was a quick fix. Wash this off and let that blend. So now it looks like I remember how it should look. And then as you cook, you kind of start to realize things. Now the texture of it's actually changed a little bit because I've added the sugar. Put that up on high a little bit and kind of give it a little bit more. With that butter, the butter shortening mixture, it should actually have been a little bit more creamy. And the sugar actually helps bind all that stuff together, but we've got it fixed. No worries. Which this is really close to what it was before, but visually I could tell something was a little bit off. That's how I realized the sugar wasn't in there. Can. Now we're going to go half and half of this. We're going to kind of do a half chocolate, half regular pound cake. Like that. Take this and we'll put about half of this in here for your top layer. Once this is baked, it'll actually be just regular. Tricky to maneuver around, so don't have a lot of space that I'm working with. Try to get about half of it in there. And if you do a fourth, that's fine too. And I kind of usually just spread it out some. Alright, so that's that layer. The cool thing about cake is cake can actually cook like that. See this off the edge. Alright, so just sit this off to the side while you get ready to add the cocoa powder. So for the rest of this that's left, I'm going to do, I think a third cup of cocoa should be more than enough. You can add more or less depending on flavor preferences. I think a third cup is fine for the amount that I have left. Let's do this over. Basically just put that on there like that. Paddle back attached and just blend it together. Cocoa should mix in pretty nice. Smell the chocolate smell. It's wonderful. Same thing that I keep doing. I'm going to take some of this batter, I'm going to push it down. Got a little bit on my finger. Shouldn't do this, but delicious. And I got Nestle, there's Ghirardelli, there's Hershey's. I kind of got whatever they had at the store. If you want a little bit more depth, I would recommend something like a Ghirardelli, if you can find a Ghirardelli baking powder, chocolate powder, whatever. And that looks really good. So now it's chocolate. And that was a really easy step. Just a little bit of extra work, but it's not hard to do at all. You can do all sorts of fun things with this. You could almost make a checkerboard pattern if you kept alternating. It'd be a lot more mixing. You probably have to mix by hand at that point, but a really nice visual. because we eat with our eyes. So we're just going to take the rest of this. Just get it in there. It's going to have a little bit of swirl because I still got some of the regular on there, but it is fine. We'll give it some individuality. Probably be swirled anyway because we're going to have to spread this. I usually like to try to scrape as much of this out as I possibly can. That's probably all I'm going to be able to salvage, or scrape rather. Then what you want to do, you just want to spread this as much of it as you can, because some of it is going to sink into what you already put in there. Try to spread it out as much as you can to get a nice layer on the outside. But this just kind of adds an accent to it. Nice little surprise when you cut into it, because you won't be able to tell that it's got this dual flavor going on the outside. Everything will be nice and golden brown. That's pretty much it. That's what it's going to end up looking like. So this is going to go in the oven for about 60 minutes. What I tend to do is I'll adjust my shelves so that it's not on the very bottom. And everybody's oven's a little bit different, so you'll probably have to figure out your sweet spot, because I know with my oven I have to put it a shelf up or it'll get too dark. And I always recommend sitting it on top of a baking pan. Give it a little bit more stability. You can get it out the oven a little bit easier. So get this in the oven for about an hour. Once it cools, which will take about another hour or so, I'll come back, we'll go ahead and we'll make the vanilla buttercream, and it should be cool enough so once we make the buttercream, we can go ahead and ice it, and then we'll taste it. Thanks, see you soon.